As expected or anticipated, we've had our first party switch in the U.S. Senate now that the Democrats have gotten a 2-seat majority. And, of course, it was Kirsten Cinema. Had to be either her or Manchin. So, Kirsten, whatever the how you pronounce her name, has made a decision. She is going to become an independent, which, fine, no problem. I have recently, within the past year, changed my so-called party affiliation, although it doesn't make a lot of difference here in Georgia, I've discovered, from Democrat to independent, which is what Kirsten Cinema has done. Of course, I don't have votes in the United States Senate that can be used as, let's call it leverage rather than blackmail to get the things done that I might feel should be done, even though the party of which I'm a member doesn't agree. That's one of the reasons a lot of these people who switch parties, they do it because it gives them not just political independence, but it gives them power where it concerns their one vote. Well, Kirsten Cinema, of course, figured this out a long time ago. So she announced, and by the way, as you know, she's right now, I guess she's still a Democratic senator from this crazy cesspool of political madness, which is Arizona. Who knew? But she announced her switch in a series of interviews, then a video, and an op-ed that she wrote today for the Arizona newspaper. And she said she will re-register as an independent. She becomes the first senator to leave her party since, any of you remember this? Arlen Specter, remember him? He was a Republican from Pennsylvania. I think he was on the Kennedy Assassination Committee. He was around that long ago. He's dead now, but he changed his party affiliation in 2009. So there hasn't been a party switch like this in the U.S. Senate since then. And like Arlen Specter, who went from being a Republican to a Democrat, according to the Washington Post, Cinema realized she had to face a very strong primary if she sought re-election with her former party. Now, it's not for another 2 years, but this is one of the reasons she's switching now. And she has competition already. Somebody's going to challenge her for her seat, and that's Representative Ruben Gallego, who's a Democrat from Arizona. So the move from being a Democrat to a so-called independent makes sense for her personally, because she knows, let's remember, Cinema started out as a member of the Green Party, right? And her evolution, her political evolution over the years has been in part, in my humble opinion, because she realizes that the state of which she is a representative in the Senate, that the state has produced a whole generation, if not two, of fucking crazy people. Not that everybody in Arizona, you know what I'm saying, but take a look at what some of the political people in Arizona, or the political wannabes, what they have done in the past 2 or 3 elections. And wasn't Arizona that refused to ratify, the governor of Arizona refused to ratify MLK birthday all those years ago? I mean, for some reason, Arizona is the Mississippi of the Southwest, I guess is one way to put it. But it's full of crazy people, and these crazy people vote. And worse, some of these crazy people run for office. And the complete worst is some of these crazy people get elected. So Cinema knows the flavor of the population that she represents as a senator. She gets it. So this, I think, was a less of a disagreement with the fundamentals of the Democratic Party as led by Joe Biden, and more of a political survival trip on Senator Cinema's part. That's the way I see it. So, what about the political impact of her change, though? Well, as the Post points out, the first thing to note is that it remains unclear. Now, she just announced this morning. It remains unclear whether she will continue to caucus with Democrats. Two other independents in the Senate do that, Bernie Sanders and Angus King. They're independents, but they caucus with and vote with damn near all the time with Senate Democrats. And she was asked about this, and a spokesman for her said merely that, quote, she intends to maintain her committee assignments from the Democratic Party. She has never and will not attend caucus messaging or organizational meetings, end quote, with the, she's means the Democrats. Now, in order to hold on to her committee assignments, of course, that's up to Chuck Schumer, who makes these decisions, puts people on their various committees and has the power to remove them. So I guess Schumer's attitude right now is one of wait and see. Let's see what this Arizona senator is going to do. I bet Schumer is just when he thought he had a 2-seat majority in the Senate, all of a sudden this happens, right? Well, of course. Now, her statement that she will continue to maintain her committee assignments, that's a clear indication that it's a clear indication she's going to continue to caucus with the Democrats. Okay. At least for purposes of organizing the Senate, that's what she's going to do. But she's not saying that directly. Now, that could just be what Kirsten Cinema does. Keep them guessing, right, honey? Of course. And she has said she's not sure whether she will maintain her seat on the Democratic side of the Senate. She was asked by CNN's Jake Tapper whether what she has decided would change the balance of power in the Senate. And she answered, quote, that's kind of a D.C. thing to worry about, end quote. No, it's not kind of a D.C. thing to worry about. It's kind of a policy thing to worry about. Come on, Kirsten. But I think the senator realizes that the average member of Congress, certainly on the Republican side, is a dumb shit. They're ideologically driven. They are not policy driven. On the Democratic side of the aisle, a lot of those people are overcommitted to ideas that just can't happen now or 10 years ago or 10 years from now. Look, we're on a track. Let's be real here. We are moving inexorably toward a neo-fascist state. And as we continue to move that way, fewer and fewer voices from the so-called political left within the legislative branch of government will be heard. Look, what did I read the other day? That Ocasio-Cortez is under investigation by one of the House committees run by Democrats, the Ethics Committee or something. I didn't read the entire article. But she's under what? Investigation? Really? Ocasio-Cortez? Somebody asked me the other day, how come we haven't heard very much from her lately? Well, maybe this is the reason. Maybe she's decided to keep a low profile as this investigation, whatever it's about, moves forward. So there's also what Cinema's declaration now that she's an independent, what that could mean for potential vacancies in Congress over the next 2 years. For example, as the Post points out, if Cinema doesn't caucus with Democrats, it would mean that even one vacancy in the wrong place rather than two could, this is a possibility, hand Republicans the majority. See, right now, 11 Democratic senators come from states with a Republican, read Christian fascist governor who could appoint a Republican replacement if something happens in that state, whatever that state is, with a Democratic senator, supposing he or she retires or, God forbid, dies, has some sort of a incapacitating medical emergency occur. It would be up to the governor of that state, Republican state, to appoint someone to replace a Democratic senator. And the governor does not, this Republican governor certainly does not have to appoint a Democrat to replace a Democrat, although that you would think that would be what the people would want. But the people be damned. Nobody gives a shit what the people want anymore. Are you kidding me? Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.